Thank you for joining me today. I'm Heyman Javle. I'm a principal partner solution engineer at Salesforce. Today, we'll be looking at how you can supercharge your recruiters by building AI powered automations in Salesforce with Agentforce. Well, we all know that recruiting is a high stakes, high volume game. Your team is in a constant race to find the best candidates and fill open roles before the competition. But what if you could give them a secret weapon? What if you could infuse your Salesforce org with intelligence to automate tedious tasks and provide insightful recommendations that makes this process much easier? That's where Agentforce comes in. By combining the power of the Salesforce platform with tools like Flows, Prompt Builder, Apex, and Lightning Web Components, along with Agentforce, you can now build powerful AI-driven tools that transform the recruitment process. In this video, I'll walk you through two use cases. The first one is around generating instant candidate summaries. So you can automatically generate concise candidate summaries directly on a record field using an uploaded resume document that the candidate might have provided as an input. The second is around AI-powered job matching. Oftentimes, recruiters spend a lot of time matching candidate profiles to the right jobs. So this automation will recommend the best jobs for a candidate by analyzing their uploaded resume document and matching it against the open position records in Salesforce. I'll also focus on certain tools today that span across the Salesforce technology and Agentforce. So things like the prompt templates, Apex code, models API via Apex, and also the UI Lightning Web Components. In this demo, we'll also look at two personas. The first one is Arya, who's a recruiter at a fictitious company called Helzy Cloud, who's looking to hire the right candidates for the right roles. So as part of being a recruiter, Arya needs to find profiles for candidates that fit the right open jobs. The second persona that we have is Gina, who's a candidate exploring jobs at Helzy Cloud. Her goal is to find a job role that fits her experience and her preferences. Let's look at how this would pan out. We start with the website for Helzy Cloud, where a prospect candidate like Gina can land and get more information about the company, what others are talking about that, and also stay in loop. So you can click onto the navigation menu and go to the careers page. And now she's presented with all the open positions that are available at the Helzy Cloud company. She can look at the open jobs that are there. Let's click into one of the jobs. And here you can get details about the job. So what the title is, the location, and also a job description, salary range, pay grade, and the skills required and the education required for that job. So let's say now Gina is interested in applying to this role. So she'll go ahead and click apply to this position. But obviously, she is not a candidate in the system yet. So she can create her profile and fill in all her information to get started. So let's assume now that she went ahead and filled all this up and also uploaded a document as her resume. So if we flip to the Salesforce org, here we can assume the role of Arya, who is the recruiter for Helzy Cloud Company. So she'll be on her recruiting app, and on the home page, she'll have some information, but then she can go to the candidates page and see all the recent candidates that she has looked at. So we see that Gina filled out her candidate profile and her record is now created in Salesforce. So let's look at Gina's profile. Here we captured all the information about her from the portal. So you can see where she works at, her address, and things like that. And also, if you go to the related tab, you can see a notes and attachment, and you can also see the resume that she had uploaded. Now let's go back to her details. And now here we see on the right side, we have an automation where we can now generate instant candidate summary for Gina. So let's click on this icon, which will help us generate that. So let's click on this again. And this is where the power of Agentforce comes in. So Einstein is going to help Gina create this candidate summary. So what is happening behind the scenes, and we'll talk about this more, is we are tapping into a prompt builder that will grab all the information for Gina and generate this candidate summary. So you can see we have created a very concise and well formatted summary about Gina, and that this includes her key skill highlights, the total experience she has, and her key accomplishments. So we can go ahead and use this. And what happens is it gets populated as the text on this field, and then we can go ahead and save this. So now we have this summary saved so that next time another recruiter lands on the candidate page, they also have insight into the summary of Gina. So now let's look at what is happening behind the scenes and how all of this flow works. So recruiter, in our case, Arya, when she clicks the button, that invokes a candidate's summary prompt template. And we'll see how that prompt template works. But what happens is we have some prompt instructions in this prompt template, which gets grounded with the details from the candidate record and the attached resume. So we are using a multimodal input, not only using the data that's stored in Salesforce, but also the PDF file that's uploaded as a resume. All of this information that gets grounded with the prompt is now sent to the LLM. And of course, the Einstein trust layer, which makes sure everything is secure. There are no PII information that is being sent to the LLM. There's also zero data retention with the LLMs. And once that response is generated and comes back, any toxicity detection is done to make sure there's no harmful information, and there's also any PID masking. So now what happens is we have that response back, and that is provided now as a text that the recruiter can choose to use and save it on the summary field. Let's look at the candidate summary prompt template. Here we have the prompt builder template for the candidate AI summary. Let's break it down. So first we start by defining the role and purpose. So your job as a recruiter assistant is to extract and summarize a candidate's profile that gets stored on a summary field. Then we start defining how the structure should look like for the summary. So we give it some information saying, when you generate this summary, include the name of the candidate, the overview of the candidate using any information like location, LinkedIn URL if that was provided, and also format the key skills highlights as per the years of experience, the most recent job titles, their key accomplishments, and any relevant certifications if they were included. Now we also have to ground the data so that the LLM has context as to which candidate and what details it has to sift through. So we provide the candidate snapshot record, which includes everything that is included on that candidate record, the resume attachment file, and also other details like the name of the candidate, the education, location, and any interested domains. And this comes from those CRM records. And then we also add additional instructions on how we prefer handling the output response and format or any styling. So for example, format the output as a rich text structured candidate profile summary in a clear and easy to read points and bullet points when needed. We also mentioned to include deep links if a LinkedIn profile is provided, and also do not add any extra formatting characters like a star or double stars. Also, we mentioned to not add any pleasantries at the end of the summary. So obviously it takes time to perfect this prompt. You can test it out in this prompt builder that the Agentforce technology provides. So for example, if I preview here, I can select candidates that are part of this CRM system. So I can use Gina again, and then also I can preview it right here so that I understand how the prompt is working, if it's working properly, grabbing the information that I need, and what is the response that's being generated. So you can see that this particular prompt works, and once I'm sure that it works, I can also go ahead and activate it. So in this case, it's already activated, so I don't have to do anything else. Now let's look at the second use case, which is around matching jobs with the help of AI. We are back to Gina's record, and Arya now needs to match her profile to all the open jobs that we have. So we have an object called positions that has all these jobs, and some of them are open and some are not. So we can go back to the candidate's record, to Gina's record, and now we have this particular automation. So now we see this component here called the AI job matcher, and there's a button here for analyze and ranking top jobs. This is actually a Lightning Web component that when clicked, can orchestrate all the AI automations behind the scenes. So I'll show you how this works and then also how we built it behind the scenes. I'll go ahead and click this button. And this is actually doing a lot of things in the backend that we'll talk about. It's invoking a prompt template that is extracting skills, like how we did here for the candidate. And then it's calling an Apex class that uses Models API to prepare a prompt and, and uses some logic to match the skills that were extracted to the open jobs that we have. So you can see the AI comes back with a response and gives us recommendations for which positions it thinks is matching closely to this profile. So we can see based on the job requirements we have, we also have a match score that AI generated with some justification as to why it thinks it matches to that particular profile. As a recruiter now, you can add much more automations here to go ahead and submit this resume or this candidate profile to role's hiring manager, or you can also save this on the record for this candidate. We also have deep linked the jobs that come back as recommendations, so you can go ahead and open those and see what information is there in this particular position. So this was very easy, fast, and powerful, but now let's look at what is happening behind the scenes. In order for us to generate this job matching, it takes a lot of moving parts, so I'll explain you one by one. We saw the recruiter, in our case, Aria, clicks the Analyze and Rank Top Jobs button. So this button is part of the Lightning Web Component logic, which in turn calls an Apex class called the Skill Prompt Controller, which invokes the candidate skills extractor prompt templates. In the previous use case, we invoked the prompt template directly, but in this instance, we are using an Apex class as a controller that can analyze and process these inputs and then invoke this prompt template directly from the Apex class. The prompt template itself will also ground information like the previous use case using the attached resume and the candidate records. So let's have a quick look at our Apex class, which essentially gets called by the Lightning Web component, takes the candidate ID from the Lightning component, and then in turn calls the prompt template. So here's the logic that we use to call a prompt template. And we call this prompt template to extract skills from a particular candidate's resume. Let's look at the prompt template that actually generates this key skills. This is our prompt template called extract skills from the resume file. And similar to the previous prompt, you define a role and a purpose and define how to structure the response and also to ground the information using the resume files. So in this prompt template, we instruct the LLM to return the skills and the years of experience as a single clean comma separated string and not add any introduction explanation other than the comma separated list of skills. Once you're satisfied, we can activate this prompt template. Now what happens is once that request is sent to the LLM, we get the response. These extracted skills are sent back to the Lightning Web component. And now the next step is to match these jobs. So the Lightning Web component then calls another Apex class called the job matcher, which in turn queries all the open job records, prepares a prompt with these inputs that we have, and uses something that we call Models API, which can be used within an Apex class to use a prompt and then call an LLM directly from the Apex class. It's similar to doing it from the prompt template, but this is more a pro code way of doing things. So again, in this case, we prepare the request and send it to our LLM. We get the response back. Then we use another Apex class just to help us format the match job score responses, which then gets sent back to Lightning Web components, and that gets displayed to the recruiter. Now let's look at the Apex class, which is going to use the job matching logic. So here we have a class that helps us structure the response, which is just Aura enable variables to help us structure the output. Then we query all the open jobs that are there in the system. We construct the full prompt. Here, it's similar to how we write it in a prompt template, but here we are using the inputs that we have from the previous steps and we call the LLM directly here using the models API. You can choose to select any model that you want. In this case, we have use OpenAI. Here we prepare the prompt, and you can see in our instructions, we can provide all the details and ground it with the inputs that we have, which includes the candidate skills and also the open job that we had queried earlier. And here we can instruct it to return a valid JSON array that contains the response. Now we can go ahead and get that JSON response. We can deserialize it and parse it and use our helper class to structure it in any way and fashion that we want. And this gets sent back to our Lightning Web component. So this is our Lightning Web component. You can see how we are using, we are building the UI here in the HTML file. This is our XML file, but the logic is in our JavaScript file for the web component. Here you can see how we are getting the information from the candidate, how we are calling the first Apex class to get the extracted skills, and also how also we call the match scoring Apex class to get the match job scores. So Arya now has an intelligent, data-driven list of most promising opportunities for their candidates, complete with a score and reason. This eliminates guesswork and ensures no candidate slips through the cracks. Building AI job matching tools delivers significant returns by slashing the time recruiters spend on manual tasks. If you do some basic analysis around potential time and cost saving, every recruiter using this automation saves approximately 12 and a half hours of work per week. Annually, that translates to a cost of nearly $30,000 per recruiter. So for a team of 5 recruiters, you're looking at $100,000 in recaptured productivity per year. You saw how we use the power of the Salesforce platform and Agentforce AI capability to create sophisticated AI automations in the world of recruitment. So this again barely scratched the surface of what's possible. You can go further by adding more enhancements like drafting email replies, sending the candidate details to the hiring managers, and other things you can do as follow-ups. You can also create and chain more AI automations to transform and automate other stages of the recruitment lifecycle. If you prefer the AI automations to happen in a more assistive fashion, where you can have an agent talking or conversing with the recruiter and performing these tasks, then you can also repurpose all the prompt templates and Apex classes we have as agent actions that become jobs to be done or skills that an agent can perform as part of their repertoire. I hope this helps paint a picture of how you can build AI-powered automations in Salesforce using Agentforce.